Now, I've been buying SCHD or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF every single trading day, more or less, for several years now. Sometimes 1 share, sometimes 10 shares, sometimes 2, 3, or 4, as you can see right here on the screen. And keep in mind, this is only one of my portfolios, and this is because SCHD is an ETF that I've been trying to build out a foundational position in for my long-term portfolio now for several years. Now, I'm proud to say that as of this moment right now, I currently hold around 2,320 shares of SCHD across all my portfolios combined. And what's cool is that this is the most amount of this ETF that I've ever owned, which is why I thought it'd be a good time to make a video sharing with you guys how much in dividends I'm expecting on the next SCHD payout, which is just over a month away. Along with that, I want to share with you guys one of the main reasons I've been purchasing this ETF so substantially over the past several years now. So if you want to see my future SCHD dividend payout projection, along with some of the main reasons I've been buying and am still buying this ETF, well, then make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. If you are a dividend investor who wants to level up your portfolio, you need to be tracking your dividend income consistently. And that's why I created the perfect dividend tracker that I've used to scale my dividend income up to all-time highs over the last year. Now, along with this dividend tracker, you're also going to receive my A to Z dividend investing ebook, which shows you how I personally started from $0 several years ago to now where I earn over $7,500 per month in dividends. So if you want this tracker and the ebook, go to the first link down below in my description and grab it today. Now, for those of you guys that tuned into this video that just want to see exactly how much in dividends I'm going to be receiving more or less in the next month, the next year, the next several years, well, let's go through that right now first before anything else. SCHD currently is offering around 99 cents as far as a trailing 12-month payout, which means more or less for every single share of this ETF that you own, you're looking at almost $1. But keep in mind, this is without the potential SCHD dividend increases that we're all expecting. So with my 2,320 shares of the ETF that I currently hold in my portfolios, I'm looking at, as of right now, around $2,296.80 in dividends annually. Now, this evens out to around $191.40 per month, and this is just by taking the annual amount divided by 12. But the main reason that I've been buying SCHD is not to get $2,300 on a yearly basis, because keep in mind, to purchase this 2,320 shares of the ETF, it cost me a substantial amount of money. And of course, I could use that money and bought something like jepi, something like SPYI, or even something like jepi, and I would be able to earn a lot more in dividend income a lot sooner. But the main reason I've been buying so much SCHD, and we're going to go through this a little bit deeper here in a second, is because of this ETF's dividend growth rate. Now, to dig a little bit deeper into SCHD's dividend growth rate, and keep in mind, dividend growth rate, according to Seeking Alpha, is the annualized percentage rate of growth that a particular stock or ETF's dividend undergoes compared to the previous 12 months before. Now, dividend growth is probably one of the most, if not the most, important metrics that every, especially newer dividend investor, should be focusing on. Because even if an ETF or a stock, let's say, offers a 5% or 10% dividend yield, that's going to get you a substantial amount of income from day one. But if that stock or ETF does not offer any dividend growth, for example, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, 30, 40 years down the road, your dividend income is going to stay relatively the same. Now, SCHD, for example, offers around a 3.65% dividend yield. And this is based off the trailing 12 months, so over the last 12 or so months. And of course, this could probably go up very soon here if and when SCHD does announce another dividend increase. But of course, we're going to have to wait and see. But based off the previous 12 months compared to the previous 12 months from there, we're looking at 12.23% dividend growth rate over the last 12 months. Now, this is substantial, and let me lay this out for you. This means that over the last 12 months, you are now receiving 12+% more in dividends than the previous 12 months for that. Now, that might not seem like anything crazy if, let's say, you have 1 share, 5 shares, 10 shares of the ETF, but over time, as you collect 50 shares, 100 shares, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 shares, you can understand how just a 12% increase in one single year could potentially change everything for your financial situation. Not to mention, consider if SCHD does consistently offer a 10%, 12% increase year after year, which this ETF more or less has done. Now, this means that back in the day, around 10 or so years ago, you were receiving around 7 or 8 cents per share per quarter with SCHD, and just around 10 years later, now you're receiving around 26 cents, 25 cents, 27 cents per share per quarter. Now, this means that, for example, if you're receiving around $3,000 per year in dividends for all the shares that you had back then, now just 10 years later, you're receiving around $9,000 per year in dividends. Or, for example, back then, around 10 or so years ago, if you were receiving around $10,000 $10,000 per year in dividends from SCHD, nowadays you'd be receiving around $25,000 to $30,000 worth. Now you can go through and mess around with different scenarios, different theoretical ideas, but the idea is pretty simple. Over time, if an ETF or a stock, of course, is going to pay you more and more in dividend income, it's going to be that much easier to get wealthy in the long run. Which, as a side note, this is based off of only 13 or so years of this ETF that it's been trading. So imagine in 13 more years, imagine in 20 more years, if in the future SCHD's dividends double again or triple again, you can only imagine how much more dividend income you're going to be receiving based off of the previous years. Now that brings me back to my personal situation, because some of you guys might be interested. With my 2,320 shares of SCHD that I have right now, that I've been buying for several years, of course, that $2,300-ish per year of dividends is likely going to turn into around $25.49 throughout the next 12 or so months. Now this is based off an 11% dividend growth rate, which of course, this could go down, this could go up, we don't know what's going to happen, but based off of the past previous years, SCHD has raised their dividends around here. Now by next year, 2026, we're talking $28.29 per year, and keep in mind, as numbers get bigger and I reinvest into more shares of SCHD, the compounding effect is only going to take place more and more. This also means by 2027, if I were not to purchase another single share, I could be looking at over $3,100 per year. And keep in mind, right now I'm at around $2,300. Now again, this income increase is based off of nothing but just the dividend growth and me not buying another single share. Now you can see that over the next several years, if I didn't buy another single share, by 2030, theoretically speaking, SCHD could be paying around $1.85 per share per year, more or less, based off the 11% dividend growth rate, and I could be receiving almost $4,300 per year in dividends, which is nearly double what I'm receiving right now. Now I'm currently 32 years old, so this would stretch things out till about 2034, which I would then be around 42 years old. Now by this point, my dividend income would almost triple and would be sitting at around $6,500 in dividends per year, or an average around $543 per month. Now just based off of my personal situation, and again, all of our lights are different, all of our expenses are different, which are going to definitely change things when you're looking at a dividend forecast like this. But for me personally, by earning an extra $200-300 per month in dividend income, especially from doing absolutely nothing, not by buying another single share, that could be substantially helpful for my life. Now the craziest thing is that I'm planning on buying more SCHD shares over this next year and beyond, even though I am slowing down my purchasing just a bit. Because of course I want to diversify in other ETFs, other stocks, etc. I'm not going to be buying SCHD quite as fast this year, but I'm still going to be grabbing some shares. Now this also means that if I get up to 3,500 shares within the next year or so, which is definitely very possible, if I keep buying a few shares here and there, that means that in the next 10 or so years, I could be almost at $10,000 in income per year from SCHD, or an average around $819 per month. So when I go back and reflect on one of the most important metrics, one of the main reasons that I started buying this ETF and why I'm going to continue to buy it up into this day is because this ETF has offered consistent dividend growth historically. And although it's not necessarily to be expected, this ETF, at least historically, has offered massive dividend growth basically every single year, quarter over quarter, to investors, which has made things even that much easier in the hard landscape of dividend investing. Now, SCHD, of course, is not the only ETF across the market that has offered consistent dividend growth and has grown over time, but keep in mind it's one of the best to do it. Also, as a side note, as of recently, this ETF has been trading a little bit lower, offering a nice entry point to get an even larger yield on cost, which makes the compounding effect even that much more easy in the future. For example, back in 2020, when SCHD crashed in price along with the rest of the market, this ETF at the time was offering a 7.33% yield on cost for investors that were brave enough to buy into it, which you can only imagine what the math would look like if you bought a lot of your shares back then. But regardless, where SCHD is trading as of right now, I still think it's a great buying opportunity for investors that have 10, 20, 30 years of timeline on their investing horizon. And whether it's SCHD or any other dividend stock or ETF, I please beg all of you guys to look into dividend growth over time and consider it as an important metric when it comes to making your own investing choices. So now that we talked about the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, we talked about the dividend growth over the past several years and beyond, and I shared with you guys exactly how much dividend income I'm projected to be making throughout the next quarters, the next years, and even beyond. I lastly, most importantly, want to hear from you guys down below. As of right now, in early 2025, how many shares of SCHD are you currently holding? Like I said, I currently have just over 2,000. Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like in it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.